I don't really have an introduction for this video. Just want to say no plates. How's it going, everyone? Brickyard 400 was today. I didn't miss the race. I was watching it, but I had no audio. Didn't really know much was going on. Basically, the first stage and half into the second stage, because I was in class. It is a Monday. University of Florida. Gotta go to class. Gotta learn. But I was able to come home, watch some of the race from that point on. And I came home where they were wrecking all the time in Stage 2. I don't think Stage 2 had a lot of green flag laps. But the strategy, I might be a little bit off in talking about the strategy. That's because, again, I didn't know what was going on because I had to focus on sport law instead of, racing. So kind of hard to focus on two things at once when all this strategy is going on. But let's talk about the race. Qualifying was rained out. Practice was rained out. Thing was held on a Monday, obviously, as you guys know. Here I go saying obviously again. I always say obviously in these videos. I have to stop. Anyways, the big three were up towards the front. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr. But Truex kind of fell back a little bit. Denny Hamlin seemed to have a pretty good car, so he was trying to move up there as well. And that's pretty much all I could say about Stage 1. There was a couple competition cautions, but like I said, because I was in class, I wasn't able to get a good feel for what was going on. All I know, competition cautions, pit strategy going on. Kevin Harvick tried pitting right before the first competition caution, but then had an uncontrolled tire penalty. There were a lot of uncontrolled tire penalties in this race. A lot of them I don't agree with, mainly because the rule is not black and white. It is a very grayish rule. You don't really know what is exactly an uncontrolled tire. I mean, it could fall down a little bit, but if it moves like what, half a yard, like it moves this much away from your arm and you can't reach with your arm, it's a penalty. This stuff is... Can we just go back to the simpler days of if the tire goes outside the box, then it's a penalty. If not, it's fine. Can we just do that, please? This stuff it's getting very convoluted and confusing. It's just unnecessary. Race fans don't watch NASCAR to see who gets penalized for uncontrolled tire violations by half an arm length or something. Makes no sense. Just please get rid of it. Go back to where it was just, if the tire's out of the box, cool, whatever. In Stage 1, with all the strategy going around and when to pit, Clint Bowyer would get up towards the lead. He also had a fast car as well, and he would win Stage 1. As we head into Stage 2, and again, it kind of cycles through, so I think Kyle Busch and Harvick kind of came back up towards the front. Kyle Busch was showing that he was pretty bored. He was getting as close to the pace car as possible during some of these cautions, and he even drove into the grass once and maybe damaged the car a little bit. Not really that much, but he said something felt a little bit wrong, but it seemed pretty fine. And in this stage is where the race kind of turned a little bit. So you had the competition caution, so the race never got into a nice flow. And then just a good amount of wrecks happened. So Martin Truex Jr. had an incident here. This wasn't a wreck. It was just a brake failure. The brake rotor pops out of the left front tire, then goes probably through somewhere else, cutting oil lines and stuff. And his day was done. Talk about having a bad week for Martin Truex Jr. Hopefully it gets better from here. And then a few other incidents. There was one with Alex Bowman and AJ Allmendinger. This was somewhat meaningful for Alex Bowman, but not really, because he was 16th in points. Maybe if someone else won that, he would have been knocked out, but it wasn't going to happen. So he's still in the playoffs. This leads me to something real quick. It was just kind of sad to see there were no points implications today, or even the last 5 weeks. I mean, when was the last time I talked about the point standings? We don't talk about the point standings anymore. They've become just irrelevant, 100%. In the chase era, we had pretty cool battles for the cutoff race, one lead to like 3 races to go, 2 races to go, 1 race to go. I remember a few of the Richmond races were really cool. You even had one of the little cheating kind of scandals with MWR and the whole Clint Bowyer and I think someone else spinning out on purpose and that whole issue there, all because of playoff points and stuff like that, or making the chase. So you never got any of that here because the field is just too many guys that get into the standings. The point system, how it works, is very top heavy, and it just doesn't create anything spectacular. Back to the race, Bubba Wallace had another issue that was very similar to Pocono. Brakes fail. He's able to, I don't know how he was able to turn it sideways. I think maybe the brakes were working a little bit and he was able to get that thing sideways, but I'm not really sure how he did that. That was pretty cool, and he was able to keep it off the wall because of that. If he had legitimately no brakes, I think he wouldn't have been able to get it sideways, and he'd probably go really hard into the outside wall just like Pocono. So don't really know how that happened, but luckily for Bubba, he does not have any very scary incident, but someone did run into him about 10 seconds after he wrecked. As those wrecks are happening, like I said, there's just a lot of strategy. Going back to Stage 1, some guys pitted on lap 32 after the second competition caution. Some pitted lap 42. Some pitted at the end of the stage. So from here on out, the strategy is completely everywhere. You have to pit at certain times. Kyle Busch kind of got caught on the wrong end of it. He had to pit because he wasn't going to be able to make it to the end of stage 2. So when those cautions kept coming thick and fast and they were just running a lot of pace laps, many of the other guys could have made it to the end of stage 2, and he couldn't because he pitted on lap 32. So he had to pit, lose some track position. This all shuffles everyone around, and coming to the end of stage 2, you have this decision that you want to make. It's very much running the race backwards at these bigger tracks, Pocono, Indy, road course races, where you want to pit before the stage ends because it puts you in a better position for the final stage in case you want to win the race, you think you can win the race. So a guy like Matt Kenseth, who had an incredible run today, the 6 car, was very good today. It was fast. It was the first time we've seen Roush Fenway Racing in that 6 car be fast for, oh my goodness, since I don't know how many years it's been. Felt like since Mark Martin was in that car, that was the last time they were actually good. It's been a long time since that car was good at an intermediate or a track like that. So definitely cool to see. And he was in position he was running top 5 at the end of stage 2. Now Boyer was up there as well. Denny Hamlin's up here as well. And these guys want to maximize their strategy. So you want to think, all right, pit with 3 to go, right? Come in. So that's what Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin do, but Kenseth stays out. He still has one more lap to pit because they close it at 2 to go when the leader crosses the line. So Matt Kenseth is leading the race. I'm telling you guys, he had a fantastic car. He was the only one that was actually legitimately passing cars in the top 10. Could run up to someone, get underneath them. Just the car didn't seem like it was being affected too much by dirty air. He was really able to drive it in, get through the center of the corner. So that was nice to see. And he was just passing guys. And then they decided to stay out. I was very upset because I wanted to see Matt Kenseth have a chance for the win. I mean, if he would have done what Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin did, he would have been 3rd in line probably. He would have been maybe 4th in line. And the crew didn't do that. I don't know. I think his name is Matt Pucha, I think, or Pusha. I don't know his name. That's the crew chief, and he knows he made the mistake afterwards, said it to Matt on the radio, and kind of frustrates me because we've had this stage racing for a while, and it just frustrates me when a crew chief, I mean, they don't have playoff implications. Winning a stage to them means absolutely nothing. Even if they won the stage, then the playoff point means nothing. Matt Kenseth is in the top 30 in points because he doesn't drive full time, so that means nothing. The sole reason of that team is to get better and try to win a race when the opportunity comes along. And they had the opportunity. I wouldn't say they'd win the race. I mean, the car was good, but you can never say they'd win the race. But an opportunity to have a nice, solid top 5 run, restart in the top 5 of the final stage, and they threw that away. They ended up restarting 10th in the final stage. And going to the final stage with Matt Kenseth on the final round of pit stops, he had an issue where the crew just dropped the car, and they had to get it back up. It took 15 seconds, 1 lap. It messed up his race. So that was really unfortunate to see, but he was the life of the race midway through because he was doing so well, and it was nice to see Matt Kenseth doing well. So stage 2 winner is Matt Kenseth. Cycle the race back around. Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin are leading. Clint Boyer's in front of Hamlin. They seem pretty equal, but Denny can't really do much with Clint. And Kyle Busch in this whole situation has been kind of messed up through cautions at dropping at the wrong time. And also, he tried pitting with 2 to go before Kenseth crossed the line in stage 2. And he was a little bit too late, so he got penalized for that. So Kyle Busch, even though he probably has the fastest car, is trying to get his way back up towards the front. So it's really Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin battling it out. And Denny Hamlin does what I like to do in iRacing. I know iRacing is not the real life, but you want to, at tracks that track position means everything. Very hard to pass at Indy. So you want to be able to not have to pass anyone on track. It's Formula 1 style. You just want to hop someone over because in Formula 1 it's very tough to pass. So you just want to jump them on pit stops, undercut, overcut. Same thing that Denny Hamlin did here. He was able to pit a lap before Clint Boyer. And Clint Boyer's team actually made a mistake here. They took Boyer 1 extra lap. So that's another lap that Hamlin had on fresh tires. So about 2 laps. And Hamlin was able to jump Clint Boyer in the pit stop cycle. And this is where I thought Denny Hamlin won the race. I thought right here that Hamlin won the race. But then a caution comes out with around 7 to go, I think. It was with Jeffrey Earnhardt and I think Landon Castle as well. 2 really big hits here. Both of them were okay, which is good news. But this would change up the way the race was run because you might have to think, would you want to pit? And I was hoping Hamlin and Clint Boyer wouldn't pit. And they didn't. They did not pit, and they stayed out. However, there was one key thing that was kind of unseen during that pit stop cycle before the caution came out. So when the caution came out with 7 to go, Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin weren't the leaders. There was actually some strategy going on with Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, and Brad Keselowski. They were trying to stay and catch a caution, basically, so they could get in track position. Ryan Newman and Jimmy Johnson pit. The lap the caution comes out, no one noticed it. None of the commentators, no one noticed it. Brad Keselowski was pitting that same exact lap. He gets in a pit road. Before he ever got to his pit stall, the caution came out, which is perfect timing. So when they restart the race with only a few laps to go, Brad Keselowski is essentially the first car on fresh tires that stayed out. So there were cars like Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, they pitted, and Kyle Busch as well. But Brad Keselowski jumps all of them, and he gets into a pretty good position. Has a pretty good restart as well, and he is able to get to the back bumper of Denny Hamlin. When Keselowski gets to the back bumper of Denny Hamlin with only a few laps to go, you had some really awesome racing just for those final 2 laps. Side drafting, beating and banging. Keselowski had those fresher tires compared to Denny Hamlin, who stayed out, which was, I think he had about, 20 lap old tires at that point in terms of green flag laps. So he had 30 lap older tires. He had much older tires. So Keselowski was able to fight through that dirty air, get side by side with him. They were beating and banging down the back straightaway. That was awesome to see, kind of reminiscent of last year with Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson, and I think it was Brad Keselowski as well, going 3 wide into turn 3, beating and banging, and you knew one of them wasn't going to make it out alive, which was Jimmy Johnson. So very reminiscent to that, except it was 2 wide, so they could both make it. And Brad Keselowski was able to clear Denny Hamlin, get Denny Hamlin in that dirty air, and go on to win the race. Second win in a row for Brad Keselowski. Disappointing for Denny Hamlin because he probably would have won the race had that caution for Jeffrey Earnhardt not come out and Landon Castle. And then he had a pretty good restart, and then another caution came out, and unfortunately, just when Brad Keselowski got to his back bumper, it is what it is. It happens. Now to the race results. Brad Keselowski finishes first. Eric Jones got into second. I don't really know how he got up there, but he got into second. Denny Hamlin third. Harvick, Boyer, Kurt Busch, Jamie Mack, Kyle Busch, Paul Menard, Ryan Newman round out your top 10. And then 11 through 20, and then you guys could see the rest of the field. None of these results matter that much for this race, because if you're in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs, so I'm not going to go way too in detailed about it. But you can see Matt Kenseth in 12th place. That was a good finish for him, because, again, they really screwed him over on the pit stop. He went a lap down, was able to fight his way back and get to a 12th place finish. Shows how good that car was. That car was a top 5 car, and that was nice to see. Doesn't get a top 5 finish, but good run for Matt Kenseth, and then you see the rest of the results as you go through. I think most people know that Indianapolis is not the best race of the season, and this is probably the most meaningless race of the season. No points implications, really. You just want to get to the playoffs. That starts next week. You just want to get to it already. So it was kind of a forgettable race. It was rained out as well. Happened on a Monday. Not many people came out into the stands on a Monday, which is understandable. Not many people show up to the Brickyard anymore anyways. They're going to have to figure that out. In my personal opinion, even though I really like the Brickyard 400, I think it's a very prestigious race. If people don't show up and the racing continues to be very difficult to produce at that track, I mean, IRP is sitting right over there, guys. If you want to go there, short track racing is pretty nice. But yeah, I don't think NASCAR is going to take away a race from the Brickyard. I think it's just too prestigious, but hopefully they can make the racing better. Now, there's obvious elephant in the room that I haven't talked about. I'm not going to talk about it too much. The Xfinity race, it had the plate package. I didn't watch it, so I don't think they had the 550 horsepower package. I'm pretty sure they had the plate, the restrictor plate on it. So that was the case. I read some tweets from some certain people. Samantha Bush definitely didn't like it. She was not a fan of the plate package, not a fan of the aero. But I think there were some other reporters saying it felt like Talladega. And I'm just going off of their word because I did not watch the race. Again, plate racing, not for me. I've touched on it many times. I'm trying to be positive and everything. I don't want to touch on negative things. I don't want to talk about the plate package. All I'm going to say is I don't think it's right for the sport. Talked about it many times. You want to go see a previous video where I talked about it sometime, like what is NASCAR thinking? You can go watch that. I'm just getting kind of tired of just talking about the same things, just beating the dead horse. I don't want to do it anymore. I kind of accepted the fact that NASCAR is going to go with reduced horsepower next year. It won't be a plate. It'll be probably around 550 horsepower, so it won't be what you saw at Indy. I will say that package probably works for Indy, but if you watch Michigan and Pocono, I don't really got to say anything there. So the playoffs start next week. I don't think the playoffs this year are going to be that entertaining. I think Truex, Kyle Busch, and Harvick are almost locked, basically, to Homestead, and then it's finding out what that 4th position is going to be. So that kind of takes the lackluster out of certain races, like Talladega. I think that takes the lackluster out of that a little bit because these guys have such a huge buffer. The first round, the second round, not exactly sure how. In terms of, I'm not talking about race quality. I think the races will still be all right. I'm just talking about points implications. Obviously not going to be as good as, well, as exciting, not say good, as exciting as the 2014 through 2016, I think, version of how it was. That stuff was crazy. When there was no playoff points and no stage racing and you just reset every round, oh my god, that was nuts. Talk about entertainment value. I mean, was it fair? Hell no. Was it entertaining? Oh my. So that starts, and yes, I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Comment down below what you thought of the Brickyard 400. Do I think it was a good race? Fine, what's good. I mean, we've had a lot of good races the last few races. I knew Brickyard wasn't going to be the most amazing, spectacular race ever. Like, last year was just a demolition derby and ended up being much more entertaining. But I didn't think this race was going to be all that great. And when you go in expectation for that, the finish was pretty cool. So the finish was great. I'll take it. We move on. Race is pretty irrelevant. Let's move on. So comment down below what you think. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And next week, we go on to Las Vegas, 1.5 miles. See you guys later. Peace out.
I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change, even if I tried. My love, she keeps me warm.